Tippy time my damies, Top Cat here and welcome back to the channel. Today's vid is the first in a 5-part series focused on Onslaught. This new edition has plenty of S tier loot we all want, so the grind is on. We all need to be good at ads, champs, bosses and doing objectives with haste. So our usual builds are going to need to see some flexibility. Today I've chosen 3 exotics that can keep up with the waves of ads whilst giving you a big old shit-eating grin from your first night to your 100th. Please make sure to thumb it if you dug it, and we're going to begin with our Titan and his Thunderclap. This wave-based melee allows us to punch anywhere between 1 to a metric shit ton of enemies. We cock it back and then thwack him down. We're going to equip the point contact cannon brace. It has a really cool perk called Hammer of the Gods. When defeating targets with our Thunderclap, this will restore melee energy. This is currency based. You could get a full charge of some big boys. Minors might require half a dozen and minis more. But with this build you're definitely going to have it more often than not. Targets near you when you use your Thunderclap suffer lightning strikes and become jolted. And being amplified increases the damage of these lightning strikes. We've got Knockout, critically wounding a target or breaking an enemy's shields, infuses your melee with arc energy, and increases our melee range and damage. Also triggers our health regeneration and makes us amplified. And this slap can get even sillier when we pair it with the Salvation's Grip. This yeets out mega ice formations when you hold down the trigger. I've been enjoying this on Midtown as we've got multiple alleyways of which we can cordon off. It freezes foes and often buys us a reprieve from the onslaught whilst we prepare for a counterattack. The buff to heavy GLs in 7.3.5 balance its grenade projectiles, making it stronger. But it is the ammo econ buff that has seen me go gaga for it. Without reserves we can now hold 24 rounds. I've been using it much like a primary in here, and it's more than enough as I like to break its crystals by other means. The Thunderclap is perfectly shaped to the formation, so we can get a full shatter whilst also jolting targets to help clean up any thick boys left behind. Sparker resistant makes us more resistant whilst we are surrounded, and spark of feedback when taking melee damage. Our outgoing melee damage is increased, so I feel nice and safe when going for that wind up when knocking down those ice skittles. Pulse grenade all day, paired with touch of thunder aspect, will give this ionic traces to help us with our ability regeneration, and it will increase in damage as it pulses. Think of it kinda like a target lock for grenades if you will. And Spark of Shock will give them all a jolt so they will shatter good. I'm running ions. When defeating a jolted target we create an ionic trace. So pick your favourite arc weapon to jolt with. There is plenty of them out there, one for every archetype of weapon. I myself was trying to get a prosecutor with Dragonfly and Bolt Shot for this build, but alas I could not manage to farm one out last week. I've also been enjoying breach loads in that kinetic slot as they can help break apart those crystals with ease and kill multiple foes at once as they stream out single fire towards the ADU. Our primary mods are going to be heavy handed to make orbs on melee kills, stacks on stacks to double up that charge for our melee kickstarter, and elemental charge will finish it off, maxing out our stacks and our charge with those ionic traces. We use the Stasis Artifact trio of Hail of the Storm, Pillar of Ice and Dragon's Bite. There will be a dim link in the description below, but feel free to pause here for the mods if you wish. Second up, our Arc Warlocks have always been about a constant assault. This has never been truer, and in Onslaught's 50 wave format I had 36 supers. We'll be utilising the classic Stormdancer as we have around 1800 enemies to show down against in here, and I plan on bug zapping them all. Enter Stormdancer's Brace. Its perk is Ascending Amplitude. With each target we defeat with a Stormdancer, this increases the damage we deal with it. So I'll often dump my landfall on some miners to make full use of it at its max stacks. The landfall also jolts, so we can take on overloads. And with only a smaller handful of kills, the exotic will also return half of our super energy. Super bars are tied to our damage output, so once our super is gone, continue to mix that shit up. You'll generally have about 40% of your super ability back in 25 seconds. Then, using the Wished into Being mod in the artifact, we can spawn multiple orbs to top it back up. The Arc Soul is the bread and butter of an offensive defense. Paired with Electrostatic Mind when defeating targets with our arc abilities or jolted targets, we create Ionic Traces. Not only do these feed us back our abilities, but by collecting them this makes us amplified. This gives us better gunplay skills and will supercharge our little arc buddy. Pulse Grenade is the best grenade. Again, we jolt with Spark of Shock, and now we also jolt with our Chain Lightning melee, which when amplified creates additional sets of chain. I like Spark of Recharge, as in Onslaught, those ads, when they come at you, there ain't a gym sock big enough to clean up that mess. And with this fragment, at least you'll get some grenade and melee energy out of it. Spark of Irons will feed us Ionic Traces on our jolt kills, and Spark of Discharge doubles down on that. Our Arc Weapon Final Blows have a chance to create an Ionic Trace. Use what you like for your favourite jolt hose, but for heavy I really did enjoy using the Anarchy. That GL buff of 7.3.5 made it stronger with better reserves, and I found in Midtown it was particularly suited for it. Just remember 2 grenades on a target or 3 per triangle on the floor to trap. In the artifact I picked the Strand Trinity, as the combination of Unravel and Jolt work particularly well together. For my mods I've chosen to spec for the Emergency Shield, as if you stray too far from your rift, your foes will let you know just how tough they are. Feel free to pause here for the mods or check the description below for the dim link. Before we get onto the Hunter, if you're vibing with it and you are new, don't forget to hit that sub for weekly content. Our Arc Hunter is a hybrid of both super build and weapon build. I wanted to use the Arc Staff as there's lots of ads just like strewing throughout the battlefield, and I find this has quite good mobility. But with all roaming supers, you often pop it, start clearing house, and then in comes this Hail Mary Nova from nowhere, and this blueberry just ruined your whole play. Enter the Raiju's Harness. Its perk Mobius Conduit allows us to deactivate our super when we deem fit. This saves us precious super energy so we can pop again when that next wave triggers. I'll often deactivate just using half of my super energy. When we do so, we create a blinding explosion, and we further get a tier 4 arc weapon surge. That's 25% and we get it for 20 seconds. This is great, as with melee based supers you're often getting right up in the guts, so a weapon damage bonus can get you out of it in a pinch. We're using staples like the combination blow that will make our melee sting more once you stack it up to 3. And these will also return a small portion of health and fully refund your class ability. We use that Gambler's Dodge to refund our melee ability. This combo allows us to dodge punch our problems away, whilst expediting our super energy with our helmet mods, Lethal Current. After we dodge our next melee jolts and creates shocks, a second punch will blind. It's great against those thick boys and unstopped alike. Flow state will keep you amped up, so when you're an inch away from punching that thrall in the face, you can tuck tail and run with speed boost to avoid getting cum on your face. You could use the Strand Kit Trinity if you wanted to utilize something like Swordbreaker in that kinetic slot. Me, I like Imperial Decree, as with the Nurse to 1-2 punch, I've been leaning more towards Trench Barrel for my shotgun damage these days. Yes, we're still going to be using that Pulse Nade, Spark of Shock, easy choice, Ions for those Ionic Traces, Our roly-poly ass is going to want feedback to further increase our melee damage after we take melee damage, which we can of course tank thanks to Sparker resistance whilst we are surrounded. Pause here for my mods. I've again spec'd for EMS as we're going to get in there and get down. If you've got a favourite arc weapon you think might work on any of these builds, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. It's been really awesome using all these arc builds again. Just because we got a heavy solar artifact does not mean we can't mix and match and begin our journey on the way to Prismatic. Make sure to thumb it if you dug it, sub if you're new, and as always, tippy time my damies, what a tie!